The same thing with efficiency. Efficiency is wonderful and very, very important. But as long as economic growth globally is the carrot that we pursue, efficiency is just going to lead to 6 more feet of cement per person in China. So until we change the carrot away from optimizing finance and money, these things actually make things worse a little bit. So that's not to say we shouldn't do them, because we need to do them to have the expertise and the technology and to get ready, but in and of themselves, they don't help the environment per se. So what I'm going to talk about for the last 10 minutes or so of my talk are the things that you can do that will fit in all 3 of these risks. Okay, what to do? First of all, embrace life. This is my dog. He turned 11 yesterday. He's my best friend. My 2 dogs before that were also golden retrievers. They died of cancer when they were 6 and then when they were 7. And since he's been 7, he's got these lipomas on him and whatever, and I've been worried. I never in my wildest dreams thought he would make it to 11. We went looking for rocks today, went for a hike. My reason for bringing this up is I've been reducing the wonder of my relationship with him because of my fear that he was going to die prematurely for the last 5 years. So extrapolating that to what we're talking about today is there's some scary possibilities. And we have to say, okay, yeah, financial collapse, runaway climate change, systemic problems. We have to recognize that they exist, but that they're really probably smaller than we think. And we need to say there's not a lot we can do about those things. I'm porting it off, and I'm focusing on the 90% positive trajectories that are likely. At least that's my attitude. What to do? Assert control. So this is a physiological test that was done, back to the human behavior stuff, where they had a bunch of people test, and the experimenter had turned the knob, and the faster the knob went, the faster these colors whipped in front of the person, and they had to press red, green, and kept turning it faster, and then they measured the blood and did an interview after. And they asked the people, well, what did you think of that? That was hard, I was really stressed. And in fact, their blood cortisol showed that they had high amounts of stress. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Then they did a study where people could control themselves the magnitude of the speed. They were turning the knob and pressing it, turning the knob and pressing it. They turned it even farther ahead than the other experiment. And they interviewed people, the cortisol was totally level. They got dopamine, they were excited about it. They're like, that was challenging, that was fun, can I do that again? The message here is, knowing what you know about the likely future, you need to change some of your circumstances so that you're in control. Because if you're responding to what happens, you're going to have that same sort of stress hormone response. So I don't know what exactly that is, but I think that's important. Okay, what to do? Think, act in terms of real capital. So 90% of the things that we value in life are real capital, natural capital, social, built, human. 90% of what we measure in our net worth are digits, artificial markers. So to start to understand that and maybe go a little bit in that direction, Kurt and some other people here, you might be involved, are doing a Minnesota divestment where they're divesting from fossil fuels in their 401ks and investing in local opportunities for a local economy. That is changing financial capital into real local capital. Take back language. So the movie Elephant Man, he said, I am not an elephant, I am a man. And I kind of feel the same way, that I am not a consumer, I'm a human being. And I was born into a consumer era of our species, but I'm more than a consumer. I have a lot of other attributes. And I think to say things using language is very important. Another suggestion I would have is fossil fuels. We're giving the other side total license once they've won already when we call them fossil fuels. The technical name is fossil carbon. It's only a fuel once we discovered it and decided to use as fuel. So there's all sorts of examples like that where we frame things via language. what to do. Learn something new, learn something old. I think we're on this parallel path of Google and more technology and things like that, and that's good, but because of that, our Piggly Wiggly and our econos act as our root sellers, and we're forgetting all kinds of skills that our grandparents had. And I'm not saying to go back to the Dark Ages, but I'm saying to have some balance. And we have a draft horse, and we're trying to learn how to do this thing in the upper left, and oh my God. But we're trying, and we have a root cellar, and then like small machine repair. It doesn't have to be all Middle Ages stuff, but there are skills that we've lost. Give something up. So if we're not headed on the blue line, but if we're headed more on the red line, there will be some things that will be unavailable, especially if you don't have a lot of money. And I think to get ahead of that, instead of having some massive Leatherman Swiss Army knife, we just have a simpler one. If you try and list all the things that you use in 1 week, the list is insanely long. So I'm trying to give up a few things forever, every year. And if I happen to cheat because I'm at an airport and there's no other choice, I'm not going to, be depressed. But I'm gradually trying to simplify. Know thy reptile. So we get our brain chemicals in ways that we're very habituated to. You go to the refrigerator at 11 p.m. and there's a tub of Hagens in there. You're not starving. You're plenty healthy, but it's the feelings that you want. And I'm thinking that to change the way that we get our dopamine and serotonin or whatever is an individual thing. It requires discipline and forethought. So my advice to you in knowing thy reptile is to just count to 10 when you know you're about to do something that is a supernormal stimuli and maybe not the best long-term decision. Just count to 10. And if you really want that Haagen-Dazs, that's fine, but at least be aware of how our brains work and how we're being hijacked in this consumer culture. And maybe shift things back up one notch. So one thing that I've been doing, my friend Peter here is also an aficionado. I did not know that where we live, I live by Red Wing, is like one of the agate capitals of the world. So I get the same dopamine that I used to get from doing a big commission stock trade or playing in a poker tournament from, whoa, I found an agate. I found my first one 3 months ago, and I'm totally addicted to it. Now, the only people that that's hurting is people that might want to find agates 100 years from now, but I think that's oh, and this is something I just discovered. There's something called a stromatolite, which is 2.5 billion-year-old organism, the first living organism on the planet, prokaryotic forms in the ocean. Where are they found? In Minnesota. Mary Ellen Jasper. This is Jasper with these stromatolites in it. This is like really cool, so I'm like constantly on the search for that. Okay, buy solar. Everyone in here should buy solar, but not only as supply. Think about it a little bit deeper. Where we're headed, I don't know about the next 10 years, but in the next 100 years, individuals are probably headed towards more intermittent energy. It's unavoidable. I mean, even if the tight oil lasts 30 or 40 years, we're eventually going to go 100% renewables. I actually think renewable energy on an intermittent scale is more attuned to the way our brains work than constant 24/7. If it's windy or if it's sunny, we go out and do work, and if it's raining and not, we play parcheesi or do something else. And I think, back in Holland, they did that. So I think it's really interesting to think about, and this is a little bit too, weird, but I think we need to, well, let me go to the next slide. So I have a solar oven. My dad has a solar oven. My dad has plenty of money. And we didn't do tomatoes one day. I wrote a blog post on this. And he came home and he's like, you didn't do tomatoes? Damn it, we wasted a day of sunlight. And I thought that was the coolest thing. That my dad said that there was sun that day and we didn't use it. We didn't use the solar oven. So these solar ovens are a couple $100, but just think about what you're doing by that. You're not turning on your stove. Anyways, I'm very pro solar, and I think everyone in this room should turn some financial capital into some energy capital. Either if you don't have anywhere to put it, just keep them. for the future. But we need to invest in energy in Minnesota